Welcome to another edition of Monday Afternoon Roundtable. Today we've got a good episode. We're going to skip over a little bit from the Ballhead Island unsolved murder case. We'll get back to that next episode. But today we've got Micah Sturgis. And Micah is a former law enforcement officer that's currently a private investigator. And Micah has a specialty that we're going to talk about today. Micah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I started work at the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office back in 2004, 2003, 2004. And I was an investigator for them for a number of years. Finally left over in 2016 to go to work for a private firm doing digital forensics. Mm-hmm. All we did was mobile forensics, computer forensics for civil litigation, criminal defense, things like that. And then in 2020, I went to work for Wells Fargo and worked for the corporate sector for a while doing digital forensics for the bank, the mm-hmm. banking industry. We were 24 of us for the entire world for Wells Fargo, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
I had a team out in India that I worked with, which was really fun. And then in 2020, the end of 2020, I went to work for another private investigations company, started their digital forensics program. And then this past year, I started my own company, which is Sturgis Forensics.
Okay. In your law enforcement career, as you progressed from patrol officer to detective, did you get specialized in forensics then, or
yes,
electronic forensics? Or
I did. It was a funny story. I was the youngest one, the youngest detective at the time, mm-hmm. and they had a phone that came in, and we had an investigator there that was our crime scene investigator, and he was kind of in charge of running the phones and stuff like that, and I think he was kind of getting tired of doing all that, plus his other work, because how in law enforcement they put 15 different hats on you, so you do all of it. And they said, "Who wants to do this?" Well, since I was the youngest one, the only one that knew how to use a phone, they told me, they said, "Okay, you get to do it." So I kind of got voluntold, mm-hmm. And it was the greatest voluntold I've ever been, because it's really skyrocketed into something now. So I started working on extracting data from phones for patrol officers that were seizing phones on the side of the road, and narcotics mm-hmm. officers back when we had the old flip phones and the analog phones with the antennas you pulled out of the top of them. And I actually got to watch technology grow and grow with it with the forensic side. So that was really cool to get that experience in law enforcement. And then the United States Secret Service sent me to school down in Hoover, Alabama. Okay. And I got to go down to Hoover for a couple of trips and learn mobile forensics, trained by some of the best people in the world, some of the smartest investigators in the world when it comes to digital forensics, because the Secret Service, which is a branch of the Treasury, also work all the child pornography cases, mm-hmm. Or did then at that point in time. Now the FBI is involved, and a lot of the federal agencies send their investigators to these specialized schools. So it was really neat to be a part of that, and that's where I got most of my initial training was through law enforcement.
And you probably worked all types of cases involving that type of evidence, to include, like you said, narcotics, murder cases, child pornography, everything. I mean, because everybody's got a cell phone nowadays,
right? And
or a computer, both.
Yeah, and I worked cases. The majority of the cases that I would get, or the majority of the phones I would get, would come from your narcotics investigators. Mm-hmm. Because they're always wanting to know who's talking to who.
Oh yeah, we would build great cases off just phones. Yeah,
because people, when they're happy, they can't shut up, man. They just keep talking, mm-hmm. and they tell all sorts of little secrets. But then it kind of spilled over into the child pornography cases that I'd worked. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, and I would do a lot of those child pornography cases, which was tough. I did that for 5 years. And they always say don't do it for more than 2. Mm-hmm. But when you don't have anybody that wants to take it over, you kind of get stuck doing it. But I got out at a good time. 5 years is way too much to do that type of work. But was able to put a lot of sick individuals behind bars during that time period.
Yeah, that's good work. And that kind of transitions you into the private sector.
It did. It did. So, it was a huge leap, as you could imagine, going from putting people in jail and building cases against individuals to actually going to the defense side.
Yeah, we've done the same.
Yeah. So that transition at first can really mess with your psyche a little bit, but when you come to realize that everybody is entitled to a defense and everybody's entitled to due process, it's important for our justice system. In order for it to work, we have to have both sides, and I'm able to compartmentalize a lot of this stuff and say, okay, this is what somebody's been charged with. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is what they've done. And there are a lot of mitigating circumstances that help out. And then there's sometimes when, people just got it wrong. Law enforcement, as much as we're, as Americans, we're very proud of our law enforcement community. But sometimes people get things wrong. I know I got things wrong sometimes.
We all did. Yeah.
I mean, we're only human, and that's what we're going to do. So it's important for us to be that second set of eyes on things to see, did this person actually do this, or, is it somebody else that was at the house, or were they even there on the scene? Just because 15 people say, oh, yeah, John down the street was there at the house and he's the one that committed the murder, doesn't necessarily mean John's the one that committed the murder. I'm sure this has happened to you. You get some cases where you feel like, hey, this guy probably didn't do it. Yeah.
Because the evidence starts, once you start digging a different route, then you get other cases where you're like, this guy did this.
Yeah.
And that's good. You let the attorney know and the client know, and that way they can use that information to decide what route they want to go. We go into it the same way we did in a criminal case on the other side, but it's just working, we're looking for facts.
Right. And it's important that the attorneys know ahead of time what they're going to be faced up against, because they don't want to get in court and get surprised by something.
Yeah.
So even if it's bad news, delivering news in general is helpful to the attorney.
Yeah. And with your specialty, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're deemed an expert witness in.
Right, I am. So I am an expert witness in the field of digital forensics, mobile forensics, computer forensics. And you might say, well, that's all the same thing. Well, it just depends on what your role is when you're being retained as an expert. There's been some cases where I've been retained as an expert to look at all digital evidence. So that means phones, social media, emails, computers. And so they kind of say, okay, we're going to qualify him as expert in the field of digital forensics. And there's other cases where I just get a computer and I need to look at that, and then I get qualified as an expert in the field of computer forensics. And then the same for a phone. And it's important that whenever you look to hire somebody that's going to do work for you, to make sure you hire an expert. There are firms out here that hire people that that have college degrees and have majored in computers, and that's great. And we want those people working for us. That's what we're looking for, is people that are smart, that are able to really look at the ones and zeros, so to speak. But you've got to have that experience. You've got to be an expert in order to testify, and your testimony means something in court. If you go in there with no experience and you get on the stand, you're going to get ate alive by the defense attorney or by the opposing counsel. It might be in a civil case, you're going to have two sides the same way you have it, two sides in a criminal case, and both sides get to question you when you're on the stand before you even get to testify to anything. And I have been on the stand, or I have been in the courtroom and watched people get grilled on the stand, and then the judge just say, we can't qualify him as an expert. And
that shoots your whole plan right there.
Yeah. And then I've been up there, I've always gone up there, and been qualified as an expert. And it's because I take the trainings. It's because I stay up to date with the new technology. And, I work all the cases that I work. You have to keep yourself up to speed. If not, if you just open up shop and don't do anything, you're not going to be an expert.
Especially in your field, because it's changing daily.
Oh yeah, I mean, just within the last 2 years, they've changed where stuff is being stored in phones. It used to be stored in one database, then it got moved to a different database, and now it's in a completely different area on the phone. So you have to keep up with that. If you don't, then you're going to be speaking about old stuff that is irrelevant at this point.
And you probably use the same rules of evidence and chain of custody with a digital crime scene as you would a physical crime scene, right? I mean,
same thing. We have to photograph the devices that we're dealing with. We have to log the evidence. If it comes from you, then you've got to sign over to me. We can't lose track of where this device came from because it's very simple for somebody just to go out there and buy another device and say it was there on the scene. So,
and I've had clients before, especially in domestic or infidelity cases, where they will get their partner's phone and hack it or get into it. They might know the password, whatever, and they'll take a picture of stuff. And I try to tell them, I say, yeah, that's evidence, but it's not coming from a neutral party that knows, and explain how them getting that evidence compared to you as an expert getting the evidence, how that is weighed.
Well, and there's a couple of things there. One, yeah, they can take a picture of it with their phone, but then they can also alter things. They can edit stuff, edit the picture they took to make it look like something that it's not. Would they do that? I can't say that they would or wouldn't, but a judge, that's always going to be at the back of the judge's mind. Well, is that photograph an accurate representation of what's actually on the phone? So that's why it's important for us to do these extractions of these devices, because we capture what's called metadata. And the metadata, any picture that you take has metadata or EXIF data that says, okay, this picture was taken at this date and time. And then the EXIF data will actually show it was taken with an Apple iPhone. And this was the orientation of the device based off the X and Y axis. So it actually shows all that. And it can even show this is the location where the picture was taken. So all of that data is the important information that you have to say that this picture is a real picture. It's not been altered. It's not been fabricated. So that's why you need an expert, or you need a digital forensic examiner to come in and actually get the extraction off the device.
Whereas, yeah, and if the other side had their own forensic or digital forensic expert, they would be able to say, yes, what you're saying is true. Whereas just Johnny off the street just took a picture of it, he can't provide the corroborating data that you're talking about. He can just say, here's this picture. And then that opposing expert's going to say, well, how do we know it's not blah, 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 blah. You played and did this or created it on your own or whatever, where you're saying the data shows that it's backing up what the picture would show.
Right. And that's a lot of what we do. You have different examiners out there that, yes, we're opposing to each other when it comes to the case, but a lot of times we support each other's hypothesis and conclusions on things. A lot of times I'll work a case for the defense, and I'm just looking at what the state has provided to me. I'm doing a couple of those now, and when you look at what the state's provided you, what we're looking at is, did the state do a good job in collecting the evidence? Is the evidence that we're looking at everything that they could have collected and should have collected? Was there anything that we could have gone after and gotten that the state didn't go after?
Mitigating.
Mitigating stuff. I worked a huge case in the state of South Carolina, and I was having to look at what SLED provided just to confirm, that the information that SLED gave us was accurate information. And it's just holding the feet to the fire, just making sure that everything's been done the right way.
And that's good. And sometimes clients don't understand that, but then when you explain it to them, the light bulb goes off and they realize, hey, this is why I need an expert, especially in this field.
Micah, when you testified in South Carolina as an expert witness, did you have to go through a new series through that judge to become an expert, or did they accept North Carolina?
Now, every time we sit on the stand, we have to be qualified as an expert for
Each and every
individual case that we work. We have to go and we have to be qualified as an expert.
How long a process is that?
It can last anywhere between 5 minutes to 45 minutes. It just until everybody's satisfied that the person that's sitting on the stand is an expert. That's what it takes.
I forgot to mention Tim's behind the scenes. So if you hear that voice again, that's Tim. He's behind the camera. But I would think that each time you go through that, you can say I've been declared an expert X number of times, or in so many courts. This, what.
And that's part of the qualify as an expert is to provide casework that you've done where you've been qualified as an expert, and you put that on your CV and present that to the courts and that the CV covers your your training and experience, your any awards that you've received, any type of specific training to computer forensics or mobile forensics, and then any of the court cases that you worked and their verdict, and whether you were what you were actually deemed as an expert in, whether it be computer forensics or mobile forensics or digital forensics.
I would assume also you have to stay up to date on certifications involving tools, equipment, anything that you use, and you probably use a wide variety of programs, equipment, things like that.
Yeah, and I'm a what's called a Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner, and that is the highest you can get with Celebrite, which is Celebrite's a mobile forensic tool that's used for only cell phones. I mean, they have things that they can look at computers with, and other cloud-based data, but I primarily use it for mobile phones because it's the cornerstone tool that I've always used. And
they're great. I was certified years ago in law enforcement, but that since has expired, and I'm sure it's been a ton of advancements since. I mean, it's probably been 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started doing it, if you remember, it was the box that you had the little arrows that you pressed.
Yep.
This is what you're copying, and this is what it's going to. And now there's just thousands of phones out there that Celebrite is able to get extractions from, and different types of extractions. That's one thing that's important for people to understand is there are so many different types of extractions. You can get just a advanced logical extraction, a file system extraction, physical extraction, or a full file system extraction, which is the creme de la creme, is the one that you want. Not every device supports it, and that's another issue, is that we have to make sure that the device that we're imaging or getting an extraction of is actually supported by the tool that we're trying to use. If you're running a hack shop, you might have John Doe's cell phone forensic tool that's going to get 5 phones, or you spend the money and the training and get the big daddy, which is Celebrite in this sense, and you're using that. The same thing with computer forensics. I'm also an ENCE, which is an in-case certified examiner. That process takes a good while. I had to go out to Las Vegas and do the written examination, and then come back, and I had 3 months to complete the practical examination, which is the hardest, one of the hardest examinations out there. And it's tool specific, but in-case uses you use their tool, but you have to go about looking for the stuff the way that you would in any other tool that you would use. You're looking at the master file table, and you're trying to see what how many bits, how many bytes a file is, and is there any slack space there that another file could be hidden, or in the unallocated space, which is space on a drive that nothing's written to, is there stuff in there that's been deleted that is gone back to the unallocated space that you can carve back and put back together? A lot of times we'll find pictures or images, videos, things that are in that unallocated space, regular old files that are there, doc files or PDFs that are there that have been deleted that we need, and we pull them back, and that's the smoking gun.
And there's a chance, it's not always, nothing's perfect in this world, but there's a chance when you get a phone and you download, or a computer, that you could possibly get 100% of anything that was ever on there.
Yeah, I mean, you can get back a lot of stuff that has been deleted from these devices.
And people don't realize that.
Right, and even if they're using, any type of anti-forensics tool, we're able to see that they've used that anti-forensics tool, and that bites them just as hard as the evidence not being there. Not only they put these things in place that are the courts do that they say, you're not to delete this information. You're not to delete anything from your device. And then when we go and do the examination and we see that they've actually deleted the stuff, that's just as bad as having the evidence. And then when we show the courts, not only did they delete it, but they use this anti-forensics tool to make sure that it's completely gone. And here's the trace of that anti-forensics tool. Man, they get hammered even harder because they not only tried to fool the court, but they try to double fool the court. And judges don't like that at all.
Yeah. And a lot of times, once you have the device, you have more information than the carrier or the phone company would ever dream of having.
Yeah.
They only have just little bits
Right.
of that.
So, carriers will hold so many days worth of conversation, or not conversations, but interactions between two devices. Let's say you and I were texting each other. You'll get the carrier information and see that I text you and you text me back and forth, but the body's not there. So when we get the phone, we get the body of the message that's there, and that's really the meat and potatoes of it and what we need.
And I've heard some people think, and I don't really know I think I know the answer to this, but they assume that if they save something to the cloud, it can't be detected, but it had to go through the device to
Right.
get to the cloud.
Yeah, and a lot of times what we see is, we'll see that file path on a computer that they've saved something to the cloud, or even on a phone, we'll see that stuff's been saved to the cloud, and then we just go straight to the cloud and pull it from there. The takeaway from this is just don't do anything bad on your device.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. But unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, because we wouldn't be in work if people didn't do that. But we're going to find it. It's going to be there. Either a trace of it's going to be there, or some indication that they have gotten rid of it would be there. It always comes back around at some point. And there's multiple. You can look for, let's say we have a phone, and the information is not on the phone that we're looking for. Well, these phones oftentimes back up by themselves, and they're set that way. We just go up there, pull a backup down, we find it in an older backup. That's fantastic information to have. And one other thing that I wanted to point out about that, I had a case where an individual had deleted the text messages from his phone. I actually went in to the backups, found the backups. He had deleted it from his backup, but in the recently deleteds, it was still in the recently deleteds, and it pulled back that recently deleted text message that we were looking for, even after he had deleted it in his backup. So there's always a third layer that we can look at there and try to find.
Even though the device does all this work for you, sometimes you could still be looking for that needle in the haystack because there's so much information and data. You have as the individual investigator have to comb through.
Yeah, we're talking hundreds of thousands of artifacts on these things. When I say artifacts, I mean documents, logs, photographs, videos. Oh my God, the photographs and videos that we have to go through just to find one picture, because not only does it capture all the pictures that you and I take, but it captures all the stock pictures that are on the computer, or icons that are used for different programs. So you might be looking at 700,000 photographs, and you have to train yourself to know what you're looking for. You're looking for photographs of a specific size or a specific skin tone. You're looking for specific file signature there. I mean, and you have to know where to look and find this stuff, and that's where your training and experience comes in.
Okay. Who do you make your services available to?
My services are available to anybody and everybody. Primarily, the people that I work with are criminal defense attorneys, any type of family law cases. The bigger cases are my labor and employment cases, where I'm doing things where an individual leaves a company and takes like a book of business or the plans to a widget. Let's say that company A makes a specialized widget, and they move to company B and take the plans with them.
Corporate espionage.
Right. Corporate espionage. We look at that and we see that. We also work for companies that are under subpoena. So let's say that there's been a subpoena sent down that we have to collect all the emails for a specific individual at a company. Then we go in, collect all those emails, cull them down, deduplicate them. That's where the e-discovery side comes in, where we're providing this all of this data in a nice little package that can be reviewed by attorneys.
Okay. And typically, I guess your report or the package could be very large.
Yeah.
I mean, once you provide, the evidence in the report, it could be substantial amounts of evidence.
It can go that way, or sometimes it can go to, very simple stuff like, we're looking for this text message and we find it and there it is. But oftentimes, and the report that we turn into the attorney obviously doesn't include our notes, but we have to take pristine notes when we're doing this, because we have to know every single step that we took to get back to that location. The computer or the digital footprint is like a maze, and you've got to navigate yourself through that maze. And if you don't write down where you made a left turn at, then you're going to be spending days trying to find where you went to get this information. So, we have to take, immaculate notes on it.
Okay, well, very good.
Have
Mike,
you had the privilege to work on any missing persons? By like a family would contact you and say, our daughter, 15 years old, left, has her cell phone, but we have her laptop.
Yeah, I have. I worked a couple of missing persons a few years back where they went through law enforcement. Law enforcement kind of did everything they could do. And, a lot of agencies out here don't have the technological capabilities that we have. And so they'll call us and say, hey, this is what we've got. We've gone to law enforcement. They've done everything they can. They're still working on it, but we'd like for you to take a look at the computer. We'd like for you to have a second set of eyes on it. And, we were actually very successful in one, located an individual in California. She was from she was from the Charlotte area, and we found her in California off with her boyfriend. So, we do work those cases. We don't get them as often as one would think, but, a lot of times the case of the juvenile wasn't taken, but has actually just ran away to get away from the parents or any type of authority, so to speak, and they don't realize how dangerous that is. It's just because they don't like the way things go. Mom and Dad pretty much know what's best for you.
Yeah, oh yeah. And a lot of times you brought up law enforcement. They may have the technology, but may not have. And they may even have some of the training, but they just don't have the experience level. They may be a tad bit in over their head with some of the
right, and it's not.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, it's not a knock at law enforcement. It's just that's not what they deal with every single day. I deal with computers and phones every single day, and so even when I'm driving down the road, I'm getting phone calls from people saying, hey, look, this is what we've got. And I'm going through my head saying, okay, we can look here, we can look here, we can do this. And, it's just that they just don't have that that level of experience that's needed sometimes. Because
like you said, they have to wear 15 different hats. Yeah. So they're going from this, that, and the other.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to specialize on that specialty because it requires so much attention, detail, training, and experience.
Yeah, when I worked at the sheriff's office, I was doing larceny of a garden hose cases. I was doing homicides. I was doing fire investigations. I was doing digital forensics. I was doing crime scene, fingerprinting, anything and everything. Whatever we can shove on you, we're going to shove on you, because we have a very limited pool of money to be able to hire people to do this work. So we're going to train you to do everything. And that's the nature of the beast. And, it's a lot of times when people get upset with law enforcement about things, it's not that they don't intentionally go out here to make you mad.
No, they don't.
They're doing everything they can to hold these 15 hats, because not only do they have to hold these 15 hats, they have to answer to 15 different people. And even you do one thing that your supervisor asks you to do that the sheriff's upset with. Now you got to deal with the sheriff, and you can't go and say, well, Joe Blow told me to do it, because you've got to deal with him later. So be easy on them is what I'm telling the public. They're doing the best they can.
And they are.
It's tough.
Do you miss being in law enforcement?
I don't. Some of the people I miss, and the ones that I say that I miss, I actually talked to a few of them, but I don't miss the work anymore. I enjoy the ability or the calling to help people who have been charged with crimes, because a lot of times the people that are one of the things I work are IDS cases, and as well as I do, these people don't have anything.
And explain what indigent
defense services. So what it is if you don't have money to hire specialized services to work your case, the state comes in and pays for that. And it's actually a substantially lower rate than what I actually charge other individuals, but I do that because these people deserve the same defense as the man that owns Lowe's Corporation or whatever out there, the big money man. So they all deserve the same treatment under the law. And sometimes they don't get that. And it puts it in a perpetual cycle where they get charged with something, they don't have the money to fight it, they get convicted of it, whether they did it or didn't do it, and they're back out on the street and they're doing something else to try to get by, and they get pinned for something else, and then they're back in jail again, and they're getting convicted of that. So it further pushes that perpetual cycle, and it's tough. People that drive by and see people like that, they think, oh, you don't have anything to do. Those are the have-nots. We don't have anything to do with them. But what the general public doesn't understand is that they don't have to be that way.
Yeah.
It's if they had access to the same defense that a rich person had, then they could be just like that rich person.
That's right. Like O.J. Simpson, there's no doubt in my mind he was guilty, but he had a ton of money and bought the dream team, defense team. Anytime
you've got money, you're able to circumvent the system a different way. You get, I think, better services when you're able to pay for the better services. But someone that's out here that is scraping pennies together to put food on the table for their family is not going to have that. They're not going to be afforded those same services. That's why we have the IDS system, is because now I can provide my services to them, and they're able to, get the same treatment that the man making $1 million gets.
That's right. We enjoy doing the IDS cases as well, because whether they're guilty or not, you're providing a service that, like you said, everybody is entitled or deserves by right. Everybody deserves or is guaranteed a fair trial and a strong and thorough defense. And by doing that, you feel secure that either law enforcement and the state did an excellent job in sending a guilty person to prison, or you help fight to prevent an innocent person from going to prison, or doing the best you can. So it is a rewarding thing to work to do those cases. All right. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, do you have websites, social media, phone numbers?
I do. So the website, you can go to my website at www.sturgisforensics.com, and I'll spell it out for you. It's SturgisForensics.com. You can reach me by email at info@sturgisforensics.com, or Micah, that's MICAH, @sturgisforensics.com. Or you can give me a call at area code 704-476-9596.
All right. Well, Micah, you're going to stay around and hang out with us a little bit longer for a last call, aren't you?
I absolutely am.
All right. Well, thanks for giving us some insight on the digital forensics. We'll be back in just a minute. Myself, Micah, and Tim to do the last call. All right, welcome back to the last call segment, always the funnest part.
The last call.
That's right, and what we got today is Crown Royal Reserve blended Canadian whiskey. It is 40% alcohol or 80 proof, and we've done Crown Royal. We've done a Crown Royal before, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember which one, but it's always a popular one, and Tim's already poured him one behind the camera. So I'm going to get one for me and Micah here. And as always, it's got a good looking bottle. Crown's always got a good color to it. All right, Micah, you tell me when on yours. How's that?
Well, it is still
Yeah, we're
5 minutes till lunch. That's good.
right about there. How's that?
That works.
What are we going to toast to today?
Well, our nephew got married over the weekend, so
That's
we can
right.
give a great shout out to the
Brandon and Annalise.
Annalise and Brandon Munday.
Yep.
So they got married on Saturday, and the whole families were there, and we got to meet a bunch of their family, and everything's great, and we more or less welcomed her into the Munday family. So
That's right. We got up in Elkin. You ever been to Elkin?
I have.
Boy, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it
that's
was.
a happening little town.
Probably
Yeah.
a good time to go, too.
Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah, the weather was great. It was good.
Great town.
All right, let's see. Smells good, looks good. You ready to bottoms up?
Definitely you can taste the Crown Royal in that drink.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike? You said you've drank this before, and
That's
you
a smooth one. I like that.
yeah.
I've always been a big fan of Crown Royal. I like old purple label, but this one's good, too.
Oh yeah. It is smooth. Like Tim said, you can taste the Crown Royal flavor. Do you normally drink it on the rocks or neat or in a mix? Or?
Always on the rocks. When I'm drinking bourbon, I drink it straight like this.
Mhm.
But when I'm drinking scotch, I put a little water in the top of it.
Just
a
dash it.
splash of water.
Yeah.
I do enjoy my brown liquor, though.
Oh yeah, we do too. And we primarily drink brown liquor on the last call. We've had a tequila and had a vodka, maybe even a gin, I believe.
We did.
But the rest have been bourbon or a Scotch top whiskey.
I'd have to shoot the tequila if we couldn't.
Yeah, it was
tequila.
Yeah, it was.
I'm thinking that sample we had that day was a mix between a vodka and a tequila called vodkila.
Yeah, and I've never heard of that.
Every one of us said this is going to be awful,
The
but it was
Hispanic
not
Russian.
bad.
Yeah,
The Hispanic Russian.
Yeah. It was made by Red Eye Louie,
Oh.
and that we had our doubts, but it got a good score.
yeah. What do y'all think of? Anybody been watching the World Series?
Texas Rangers.
Yeah, I missed last night's game. I forgot it was on. I was working, didn't get home till about 8:30, and forgot to turn it on. But yeah, I'm pulling for Texas. The weather here is changing. Today is gotten a little cool. I think it's going to be cooler as the day goes on. So fall is here and looking towards winter.
Yeah, 37 degrees, I think, is a low tonight.
Yep, so we're going to have a frost warning.
Passing out candy with a parka on.
Yeah, today is Halloween. Here in downtown Lincoln, they've got some of the roads blocked off for trunk or treat, so that's always a good thing.
I saw some little kids walking around with their little costumes on.
Yeah, always an exciting time.
I think we're going to pour us some scotch tonight, sit out by the fire, and pass out candy.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah,
We're dressing up as cookies and milk.
cookies and milk.
I got told what my costume was going to be. My lovely better half, I'll have to give her the props on that one. Every year she comes up with a new costume. And
Yeah,
I walked in the door the other night. She said, We picked your costume out. I said, oh, what am I going to be? She said, you're going to be a can of Zen. As I use those nicotine pouches like they're going out of style.
Yeah.
And my stepdaughter just laughed at me. But she said, no, we're going as cookies and milk because that's your favorite thing. I love milk.
Oh,
I'll wake
yeah.
up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think that's why I'm getting big old fat belly is because I sit around and drink chocolate milk at 2 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, I love milk, too. He does, too. Milk's great. I'm going to be...
Cow juice.
Yeah.
Cow juice.
I'm going to dress up as a 50-year-old nerd, and that doesn't require me to get any extra costume. I just be myself.
Where I live at, I live too far out, so I've never had a trick-or-treater in my 15 years of living there.
We had several last year, and the year before last, we didn't have any. Like, we'll either have 0 or probably 20. So I don't know what we'll get this year.
We actually went trick-or-treating last year. I'm 40 years old, but we still went trick-or-treating and took the kids, of course. That's the reason we went. But
Yeah.
My stepson dressed up like a dinosaur, one of those big old blow-up dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And he couldn't see, so he had to walk him through the neighborhood. And I dressed up my son the year before that, dressed up as Cartman, this big blow-up South Park character. And so he was dressing up as something different. So I stole his Cartman outfit, and I'm in this big blow-up thing. It's cold outside, but it's 120 degrees inside that Cartman outfit.
Oh, yeah.
So both me and my stepson had to be guided through the neighborhood. And we hit the big neighborhoods. You know, you hit the rich neighborhoods where they give you the full-size candy bars.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of those in Charlotte that we go and park and hope we don't get towed while we're there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you're right. You always pick the nicer neighborhoods to go.
Yeah. Don't come by our house. We're giving dum-dums away.
Well, we haven't even bought ours yet, so whatever's left is what we're going to get if there's anything left at the Dollar General.
I'm giving away leftover conference candy. So
Yeah.
I've got plenty of that. Hershey Kisses, Dum-Dums, and candy bars.
And then whatever we have left over from Halloween, I always bring here to the office. And we went probably 6 months eating the Halloween
Oh, my God.
left over.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Anything on the agenda coming up?
I'm just working some criminal defense cases. Micah, you got a lot going on?
I've got a few new ones that came in that are pretty promising. I've got a couple of labor and employment cases, and I've got a couple of criminal defense cases, and I've got a family law case coming up. So, you know, they're with this work, it's interesting because you'll go a week and not do anything.
Oh, we talk about that.
Then you'll go a week and you'll have so much that you can't breathe.
Yep. You feast or famine.
Absolutely. You know, I always say that the business ebbs and flows like the ocean. And,
Yeah.
You know, you've got to learn to keep your money tight on the days when you have money because you're going to need it when you don't have money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's any small business.
Yeah. Tim, what you got going on?
I've got a couple going. We opened a new cast last week, and it's a more or less pinpointed down to 2 or 3 days a week, so that's a good thing. It's not an everyday case.
Oh, that's good.
Serving the papers and
Yeah, that keeps you busy.
keeps you driving a lot.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think about old Crown Royal Reserve?
I think it was a great drink, good and smooth. No harsh bite, but that's always your Crown Royal. Always going to have that. So I'm going with a solid 9.
Yeah, Michael, what do you think?
I enjoy the smoothness of it. That's real good. And it's got a good smell to it, too. It's not one of these ones that you stick your nose down in and you can't see afterwards. I'm going to give it a good, I'll give it an 8 because I am a Scotch man, but when it comes to bourbon, I'll give this one about an 8.
Yeah. I agree with both of you, what you said. I like Crown Royal. You can't go wrong with it. I enjoy the flavor. The bite is just right where it's not a strong bite at all, but it lets you know it's there. I'll give it a 9.5.
Good deal.
Leave me to be the one that just gives the low score.
No. That's and we don't ever give. Well, I don't think we've given anything below a 7.
We haven't.
Oh,
Not yet, and we've done some off the wall stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're giving anything below a 7, then you're buying the wrong junk.
well, yeah. And I think we're going to buy some wrong junk just to try it, just so we can bring our, just so we can compare it.
We've tried, we found a lot of local distilleries now and we always been trying to buy one of their products and give it a run. And so far, all of our local products have been good ratings.
Yeah.
Have you had the Cardinal gin yet out of Kings Mountain?
No.
No.
But we did buy one from Kings Mountain. What was it? I can't remember now.
And it surprised me how many local distilleries there are.
Yeah, we passed that one, like you said, on I-77 just outside of Statesville. Do you remember the name of it? Was it Wicked something?
No, I was thinking it was Southern Distillery.
Was it?
I think.
A new building, good-looking place.
Yeah, the locals, they're really putting out some good product here.
Yeah.
And Kings Mountain, I was actually surprised that Cleveland County put out a liquor that was legal, but
Yeah.
but no, it's a good drink.
All right. Well, guys, don't forget, check out Micah's Facebook pages, his websites. Check out what he does. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment on Monday Afternoon Roundtable for our Facebook page, our Spotify page, and our YouTube page.
Also, we'll hashtag all of his information for the websites.
All right. Sounds good. And we'll get back. Hopefully, we're looking at next episode getting back into the Bald Head Island cold case.
I think we're going to lean toward more looking at the high sheriff.
No, we've done that.
The DA.
The DA, yeah.
And the police chief.
That's right. And if you have any cold cases you'd like us to look at, let us know. And if you have anything else you want us to look at, let us know. Good, bad, or indifferent, let us know. Mm-hmm. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next episode.